But my name is Lisa Markman, and I'm the Associate Director of the Education Research Section at Princeton University, and I'm also the Outreach Director of the Future of Children Journal. And the mission of the Education Research Section is to promote rigorous research in education. And we do this in multiple ways. One of the ways we do is we conduct some research ourselves in schools, and we also try to disseminate good research to educators in the tri-state area and also around the country on education. And so what we have been doing is working with the Future of Children as we have been using some of their topics and bringing the research to the schools. And to create these conferences, what I do every year is I start about a year in advance and I call schools and I say, this is the new topic that's on the table. What do you want to know? And the schools tell me multiple things that they need. And they really were interested in some of this innovative stuff, which has blown me away completely and is completely over my head. So I'm so excited to see these presenters, and they've completely taken over because I don't know what they're doing. And they, you know, a lot of things about how to get our teachers up to speed, which we'll have later on. Another issue which has been talked about is really this, how to keep kids cyber savvy and what schools should do with this new media out there. Should they restrict it? How do they restrict? What should we do? And that was part of the presentation this morning, and we'll have our keynote after lunch. But I wanted to let you know that we hosted, most of you will, I hope, know, we hosted the same conference last night on the topics of being cyber savvy and the benefits of social media to parents. And really what schools had told me is sometimes your hands are tied because parents will hold you accountable for what your kids do in school, and they don't want them on the social media sites. So the schools really asked that we do something for parents the night before, which we did. And so hopefully now everybody's going to be on the same page and the same language, and we can kind of move forward in terms of what to do with all this technology that's coming into schools. So I'm just going to quickly introduce our speakers. Their bios have been passed out, so I'm just going to give their name and their title, and they can go from there. So we have presenting today Vicki Davis, who is the teacher and IT director at the Westwood schools in Camille, Georgia, and the co-creator of 2 global collaborative projects, the Horizon Project and the Flat Classroom Project. Next speaking will be Dan McVeigh, who is director of Oceans of No. Oceans of No is a nonprofit corporation founded in 1989, and it integrates technology to transform an experience for education using robotics, which is very cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing. And then Kevin Jarrett is the technology facilitator, the district webmaster, and a Google certified teacher in the Northfield community schools in New Jersey. So I am going to now sit down and let them take over, which they've already done.
Good morning. Everybody got their snack, I hope. My name is Vicki Davis, and I'm from Georgia, if you can't tell by my accent. And, you know, we have a lot of Southern hospitality in Georgia. So I actually came today bearing door prizes. So if you look and you have a Post-it note, is it up under the front of their desk? On the back of your chair. If you have a 1, you have won a free 1-year subscription to Atomic Learning, which is an amazing service that I love. And everybody's running around, look at the chairs, look at the chairs. And if you have a number 2, you want a t-shirt. So see me after the session. Online learning environment. I did 2 workshops for them. I don't know, it's a lot though. Any other number 1s? We have another. Any other number 1? Anybody else get them? I wonder, we have some Post-it notes. I think there are going to be some people making Post-it notes during the presentation.
Or during lunch, they'll be going together.
During lunch. Now, if you have a laptop and it has enough charge to make it through the next hour, we have a back channel chat for this session. A back channel is something I use a lot in my classroom because it engages the audience and it allows them to participate. So if you go to my back channel chat, this is a back channel that I purchased for like $19 to take the ads off of it. And the password is CoolCat. So that's the name of my blog. So please go there. Also, if you don't want to type in that link, if you just Google Cool Cat Teacher, you may go to my blog, and I have a hyperlink to this back channel on my blog. And I'm about to move ahead if everybody has gotten that. What is back? Okay, let me define back channeling. A back channel is a live chat that accompanies a live presentation. So when we, and I really didn't plan to talk about back channel, but when we, for example, have a test review in my classroom, even though I'm from the South, I tend to talk very, very quickly, and my students say, "Oh, back up, Miss Vicki, you just got to back up." So they're all able to chat and type their notes in together. They're able to ask questions. I'm able to drop in hyperlinks. And then I'm able to archive that so that when they come back to it later to review, it's all in one place. So what we'll do after this is we'll actually archive this, and I'll put it on my Cool Cat Teacher wiki and share it on my blog so that all of the links and resources that you have shared in the back channel will be there. And it's an amazing way to really bring in the experience, because the thing about it is I have some experience and so do our speakers, but you have a wealth of experience. And the way most conferences go now is you just sit there and you're receiving. Well, we've entered the read-write web, you know, the generation of the read-write web. Why are our conferences read-only? We need to be giving people opportunities to write and to share and to communicate. And it's just a very useful tool. Sherry Toledo from Ohio State University is actually doing some research on back channeling in the classroom, which my classroom has participated in because it's really a very useful tool. Okay, today we're going to talk about the Flat Classroom Project. I am a teacher. I teach in a computer lab. I teach grades 8 through 12 at different times. I'm at a very small K through 12 school in Camilla, Georgia called Westwood Schools. Prior to that, I actually did professional development for teachers of all types and all types of school scenarios. So my background was I taught teachers, and then I went in and taught students. And I think younger students are actually easier to teach than teachers. I'm also a blogger. I blog at the Cool Cat Teacher blog. I'm the co-founder of the Women of Web 2.0. If you've ever gone to edtechtalk.com, we have a live show every Tuesday night that's recorded in podcast. We interviewed Dana Boyd 2 weeks ago. It was a very exciting show then. And we've interviewed Bernie Dodge talking about doing web quests and Second Life. We've just interviewed some really amazing people. How many of you have ever listened? I know we have a few listeners down front. Good. Webcast Tuesday nights. But where did all this start? I'm really the poster child for the newcomer. I started using these tools about 2.5 years ago. And I went to the Georgia Technology Conference, and our curriculum director really got into research-based best practices. Now, my undergrad, I went to Georgia Tech, and so I'm a very text type person. You know, I thought, oh, if you're going to learn, you've got to learn and read it. And so she said, well, Vicki, I'm going to make you get rid of your exams, and you're going to have to do some research-based best practices, differentiated instruction, authentic assessment, cooperative learning, project-based learning, and this is how I felt. How am I going to go from a 250-question computer science exam and do project-based learning? So that's why the Flat Classroom Project was born. So I went to that conference. It took me about a year to come back to her and say, okay, we're going to do this project with a class in Bangladesh. A friend of mine, she's now a friend, Julie Lindsay, I had blogged about a reading that my students had done on Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat. Now, how many of you have read The World is Flat? Okay, so we did this reading, and I blogged it, my students blogged it. Julie in Bangladesh read it and said, you know what? I am planning a genuine assessment, project-based learning activity for my ICT class, and we have a match. So we said, why don't we not just study the trends from The World is Flat? Let's experience the trends. Let's let them outsource videos to each other. Let them have a partner that they will never meet. Let's do it. Let's do a flat classroom. So we created the Flat Classroom in November, December of 2006. And by March, ISTE had named it the best online learning project in the world, which we were very shocked and excited about. And Thomas Friedman picked it up, and in July, this past July, it was mentioned in his current version of The World is Flat. And it has grown significantly. I'll talk a little bit about it. So we have Flat Classroom. We also have another one called the Horizon Project. Now, how many of you have read the Horizon report from New Media Consortium and EduCause? Amazing free report where they study the trends in college education for the next 1 to 5 years. So Flat Classroom was so transformational. Our students were so transformed. I live in rural Georgia, and although I've traveled, a lot of my students haven't. They work on farms, and they're not, your typical well-traveled student. So they were transformed. The students in Julie's classroom were concerned because they're predominantly Muslim, and they said, well, Miss Julie, they're going to think that we're terrorists. They're not going to want to work with us. My students said, well, they're going to stereotype us and think that we're all rednecks. And what we found was an incredible understanding between our classrooms and expanding their worldviews. I cannot take my students and put them on a plane and fly them to Bangladesh, but basically I did virtually, which was amazing. So we had 7 countries in last year's Horizon Project, and this is this year's Horizon Project. Julie and I have run 5 global collaborative projects together, and currently we have Spain, Japan, Austria, Australia, Qatar, the United States, all involved in the current project. We have 11 classrooms, and let's talk a little bit about what we do. We've had over 400 students in these projects, public and private, international baccalaureate, all different types of schools involved. And this is one of our teams that we've had. You'll see Salma from Bangladesh and Christina from China and Sophie from Austria and US. And so this is just a mixed team of students. So I actually pulled this from an excerpt from Julie's first email to me. Let's join our students together from the other side of the flat world. And it's truly changed my whole entire way of thinking and teaching. And as you can tell, I'm very excited about it. My students are excited about it. And as I've taken them places to speak, it has flowed over into other aspects of their life. They're more eloquent. They're able to speak about a variety of things. So let's talk about what a flat classroom looks like. To understand a flat classroom, you need to know that there are 2 basic methods of communication: synchronous and asynchronous communication. And a good flat classroom includes both. Synchronous, like these synchronized swimmers, means at the same time. We are very good at synchronous environments because we put students in a class and we communicate face to face. Other examples are instant messaging, and believe it or not, we instant message in my classroom. I instant message my students. If they have a question and they say, Miss Vicki, where was that hyperlink? I'll just instant message to them right back. We keep Skype up while we have class. Video conferencing, face-to-face interactions. We have an Illuminate classroom that seats 100. We go in there for teacher meetings, which are recorded, webinars. All of these types of things are synchronous environments. We also have asynchronous environments, and this means not at the same time. Blogs, wikis, podcasts, virtual classroom recordings, recorded video. All of these are asynchronous. So the traditional classroom is separated by time. While I'm in class, another classroom is asleep. And what most teachers want to do is they say, oh, it would be so exciting to have a video conference with a classroom in Africa. Well, you know what? It's not going to happen because you're not in class at the same time. We've got to disconnect ourselves from thinking that let's do the cutesy little face-to-face. I mean, it's great to do face-to-face, and there are times where, right now I'm jet lagged because I'm up for meetings with Japan at 11 o'clock at night. And the line between my work and my personal life has blurred significantly in order to do flat classroom projects. And we're going to see that in education and have to come to grips with it whether we want to or not. Teaching is not going to be a career that you can leave at 4 o'clock and be done. It's not if you're going to be a good teacher, especially at the high school level. So we're unified by asynchronous communication. So a student in Austria writes a blog post. While that student is asleep, the U.S. student responds later. Also, the traditional classroom is separated by space. We inhabit different spaces. But the flat classroom is unified by things like we use a wiki. We use, I don't like to call them social networks. In an educational setting, if you say, I want to put in a social network, you are going to be meeting obstacles because they think, oh, well, it's Facebook. And the first project, the students used Facebook, although we didn't plan it. because that was the way they communicate. They didn't want to use email. They didn't. And we said, well, you know what? We really feel a little bit uncomfortable with unsupervised communications. We really want to have it all in the same place. So we created a Ning, and we supervise everything, subscribe over RSS. It's a great environment. We also have weekly teachers meetings in Illuminate and record those and email those to everyone else. So you unify the space. We literally become one classroom. So all 11 teachers, I can comment. In fact, we had an issue with New York Baccalaureate School is part of our project, and one of their students did something, and I actually commented on the student, sent it to the teacher, and she ultimately dealt with it. But we're one classroom. We're one group, and it's a very exciting process, but it's also different. You can see this one wiki has been edited 200-something times here by many different places. So you have all the students writing a report and writing it together. Okay, so Effective Flat Classroom has synchronous and asynchronous communication methods. I'm going to move quickly. We're trying to get caught up and get done by noon here. Okay, so we have the 10 flatteners. We also combine, how many of you have read A Whole New Mind by Dan Pink? Okay, these are two great books to put on your summer reading list because they're wonderful books. And so we took the 6 senses of the conceptual age: design, story, symphony, empathy, play, and meaning. And what we did is, this is our project matrix. Now, all of these slides are available on my wiki, okay, because I know this is pretty confusing. But what we did is we had 11 total teams, and those 11 teams created a wiki together about, say, workflow software. So if a student was on Team 3B, they worked on the wiki with the other 10 to 12 students about workflow software, compiling the current information, presenting the research. They're doing authentic research, taking polls, if they take polls with Poll Daddy or something like that. But they also had to make a video. And the video for 3B was story and empathy, so they had to empathize with someone and tell a story. They also were required to outsource part of their video to a partner in another classroom. So they created their storyboard, and they would contact the person in another class through the Ning, and they would say, okay, this is the video I want. And then through the internet, they would get part of the video, their video, from another classroom, which is very exciting and very powerful. Okay. The other thing we did at the end is we hold student summits. These are recorded, and this is our synchronous environment. We have, in fact, you'll be able to attend these the 3rd and 4th week of May online if you wish. And this is one of my students presenting on her topic of virtual communications. I believe that every student, before they graduate high school, should be familiar with presenting in an online space. Now, how many of you have presented in an online space already? Okay? So we have to come up to speed with how to do that. This is their future. If you look at how corporations are delivering their training, if you look at how, I don't know what the statistics are for students and how many of them will be doing e-learning. However, I've presented at least 4 webinars around the world to grad students who are learning about the Flat Classroom Project, and they go in there and some of them don't know how to behave and don't know how to act at the college level. So I always like my students to be prepared, and every single student is allowed to bring in 1 JPEG file and has 2 minutes to present and take questions. We use a lot of different tools, and this is overwhelming. I don't think I have time to go to the project itself. The other thing you need to look at is if you look at the ISTE net standards, how many of you are having to look at the net standards as you develop your programs at your school? Anyone? Okay. The Flat Classroom Project and the Horizon Project over the course of the 6-week project meet every net standard for students. Every single one. So some schools have not been able to put in a Flat Classroom Project or a Horizon Project because their administration says, well, when will you have time to give the test? I would put the knowledge that my students have on these projects, and we've got some researchers involved that are quantifying the knowledge that they've acquired, which is experiential knowledge as well as actual content knowledge, which come together. But all of the things that we've talked about today, I believe that we will answer as we have teachers involved in these online educational networking spaces. Now, I want to point out Web 2.0 tools are not a destination, they're a journey, like our little Hobbit friends. You don't teach blogging for the sake of blogging. When somebody says, let's put in a blogging class, I just want to roll over and faint. Because blogging, it should be, I love that term this morning that somebody used about infusing technology. It should be part of what we do. And we're using blogging in AP English. We're using blogging in so many places, and the tool is so irrelevant, we probably won't call it blogging in 5 years. It is about technology fluency. But what you need to remember is, in this case, the precious is an evil. Okay? Web 2.0 is not evil, because tools are morally neutral. Okay? Is a cupcake good? Who says a cupcake is good? Is a cupcake good? We allow cupcakes in all of our elementary schools. How about this cupcake? Is this a good cupcake? What would happen if somebody brought this cupcake to school? How about one that does this? Was the cupcake good? Should we ban cupcakes? Should we ban cell phones? iPods? I had a student having trouble learning Hamlet. We downloaded it from LibriVox, which is free, put it on his iPod. He was an auditory learner, almost 100% auditory learner. He was one of those. He sat there in the corner of my room with his eyes closed for 20 minutes and went and cited it for his teacher and made 100. He had been memorizing it for 2 weeks and couldn't. He came to me in desperation. iPods are a great friend. Online videos. Well, we allow scissors in schools. Why do we allow scissors? Those could kill somebody. I mean, I don't know how many people have killed anybody with a blog, but we let scissors, but what we do is we teach students how to use scissors. So the whole point is that, we have humans in schools. And the point is that we need to learn about how to use these technologies. Just like everything else in the human experience, we need to use them effectively. And the challenge I'll give you, I know we have a lot of administrators. Raise your hand if you're an administrator. Administrators have two choices and only two. You can remove the obstacle or be the obstacle. That's it. And I do not know, teachers email me all the time. One emailed me from Texas the other day and said, I can't use Wikispaces because my principal says it only has porn on it. Well, I've been using Wikispaces for 2.5 years and I've never seen a porn site. Not to say it's not there, but I do not know of a teacher that can overcome an administrator who's not supportive. Now, I do not advocate clandestine Web 2.0 activities. I do not. Everything I do is approved by the curriculum director and approved by the principal. I am not a loose cannon. I do not advocate loose cannon teachers. But I do advocate good teachers doing the right thing at the right time. The reason we are having so many tragedies today in our society is because education has put their head in the sand on these issues and somebody is stealing the ostrich's egg. The kids are raising themselves online, and it's time for education to move online. Okay? The only people who like change are babies, and they cry the whole time. So remember that change is not pleasant, but we have to do it. We have to do it. There are times, and this is a pivotal, Thomas Cahill has a great series of books called The Hinges of History. I believe we're on a hinge of history, and the great pioneers will be those who help this happen in productive, meaningful, effective ways. And the amazing thing about this conference is we have some of the pioneers right in this room, and I'm so thankful to be here. Thank you. The current project is horizonproject2008.wikispaces.com and horizonproject2008.ning.com, and they are live in public. We do need a few experts to help judge the project. So we have about 10 slots open, and we will send you our rubric, and you will evaluate 6 videos the last week of May. So if you have an hour and you would like to learn about how it works, that's a great way to start.
Okay. Young McDonald's Farm is the project that I'm going to talk about today. This is comes out of Ocean & O, which is a small nonprofit, but it's really been shaped, heavily shaped over the years at Teachers College under Dr. John Black and some others there. Our main science question in this project is, how do systems work? This is a quick run-through of the facilities, just giving a 3-minute overview of the project. So we've got a 5,000-gallon recirculation system. We're doing hydroponics and aquaponics. Aquaculture. Aquaculture is the farming of fish. Aquaponics is hydroponics and fish farming together. Hydroponics, I'm sure you know, is plants in water with no soil. So this system was built by the teachers and students. There's that system with a full crop. There's our tilapia. Our main crop has been tilapia. We use tilapia because they grow at an accelerated rate. I can start a crop with fish about the size of my thumbnail in September and get a 2.5-pound fish by June. So there's a couple of students. Construction, the hands-on projects would include things like building recirculation systems with buckets. This is where water is staying in the system, and they would raise their fish inside those buckets. No Pumpkin Left Behind is another big physical activity, which starts May 15th. So the students come out from the city. Most of these students are in the Bronx and the South Bronx in New York City. They'll start their farm, put their farm together, and then by the fall, they have a huge crop of pumpkins and 2 large walls of zinnias. And the 4th graders will come out in October and pick their pumpkins for Halloween. What does it look like? So that's what it looks like at the farm. What does it look like in the classroom? Okay. At the schools, in the classrooms, we'll have fish tank setups with hydroponics, hands-on for water chemistry. We want them to develop clear mental models of how the systems work. So we have a system simulation of how that system works. I'm going to get that to that in a second. Telerobotics. So we have robotics both at the school and in the classroom. These are not Lego Logo kits. These kits are a little bit more expensive. They're Linksys robots. You can buy the kit online. These 18-inch robotic arms usually run about $500 a piece for these kits. The middle school students love these. We do some orientation to programming with Squeak, and which is what our system simulation is written in. Squeak is available online. It's free at www.squeakland.org. But we've also got, in the construction of these robots, we've also written Java scripts that students can then deconstruct and reconstruct with our assistance, so they're not lost in the sauce, and alter some of the behavior of those robots. So they would typically build an 18-inch robotic arm at the middle school in the city, so they can play with it and understand how it works. And they'll also install a robotic arm. They'll build a second robotic arm, and they'll install that at the farm to do something. Now, these are 18-inch robotic arms that are $500 kits. This is not a $7,000 robotic arm in a factory. So the usefulness is limited. They can feed the fish a couple of nuggets at a time. They can pick up a cup of baking soda and dump it into a tank to change their pH level. But the main thrust here is that they're using technology, they're understanding a little bit more about code, and they're getting a device to work over a network. Other technology, handheld sensors. There's a better shot of our robot so you can get a feel of what that looks like. Sensors. This one we took out in the field. This assignment with sensors was to find the best fishing spot in the lake. So they had to measure for temperature and pH levels. Right, but we use sensors a lot in the classroom with those tanks. This was out of the greenhouse. Now there's video links between the greenhouse and the classrooms in the city, so they can dial in and ask somebody in the greenhouse more specific questions, where it's more of an open forum for Q&A with experts in the greenhouse. This particular link was done with Cuenca, Spain. A lot of the students I have are Latino, a lot of bilingual students. So Cuenca, Spain was actually more of a natural conversation for them. Okay, so I'm going to just get out of this now and go into the fish farm simulation. This piece of software was developed by Ocean & O, folks at Teachers College with some help from Scott Wallace. Scott Wallace was involved in the early development of Apple Computer. Has done a lot of work with Alan Kay and a lot of work on Squeak. Squeak is written in Smalltalk. This was done in Smalltalk. So here we have this. It was designed in the design process. This was designed by mathematics teachers, science teachers, folks at Ocean & O and Teachers College. The math teachers looked at their main request was that this was set up on the grid. We've got we can go to a superfine grid, so they can check different things. Why would I need the grid here? If I've got my ammonia level, I click on my ammonia button. And I hit the 70% mark. I'm going to dump 30% of my water and bring 30% of the new water back into the system to control my ammonia levels. So as they're doing this work, they're getting a better understanding of how fish farming works. To do that, they have to understand water chemistry. And this has been a lot more effective than we expected. In a middle school classroom, you're lucky if you can get a solid understanding of pH. We'll see in the research that not only have they gotten a better understanding of pH levels, but they were able to understand what was happening with ammonia levels in the system, and I couldn't get that, even with the hands-on with the water chemistry kit, before we implemented this system simulation. What else would we do when we're tracking fish? We'll track our fish weight. So we're going to catch our fish, and we can see that our bucket of water here, our square bucket of water right now is 150 grams. When I release my fish, I can see that it's 199 grams. So if I subtract the weight of water, I know that my fish is 49 grams. Why is this important? When the students are working on mathematics and they hit fractions at the younger ages, there's been a lot of problems with teaching fractions in starting in late elementary school into middle school. And so we did a lot of work with this with the math teachers and the science teachers. They've got to catch a fish. They've got to weigh a fish. They've got to figure what the total weight of fish in that tank is. They take that weight and they're going to divide that. They're going to get an average fish weight. They're going to multiply that average fish weight times the number in the tank to get the total weight of fish in the tank. And then they're going to feed those fish 5% of their body weight. So if they're calculating to feed fish in a fish farm, and there's 400 fish in the fish farm, they need to understand fractions, decimals, and percents. In conjunction with this website, I strongly recommend the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives. It's easy to find, right online. Just go into Google and type in virtual manipulatives. It's been extremely effective. We've been testing this now for 5 years in the schools in grades 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's done in conjunction. So we included a lot of math in here. Done. We're done with our weighing of our fish. So I can click on my fish waste. I can click on my pH button. I can add baking soda to raise my pH level. I can add sodium biosulfate to lower my pH level. I've got my temperature. The optimal growth rate for tilapia is 82 degrees. I can turn my heater on. And now I start moving my days forward. I can set it on automatic. I see that my pH level is dropping. I'm going to add my baking soda. I see my ammonia levels rising. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to reduce my ammonia level by dumping 30% of my water and replacing it. My temperature's getting a little high, so I'm going to pop in here. I'm going to turn my heater off. And now I'm going to move again. Day 15, day 16, day 17. I got to click on my fish waste tray. I got to get rid of my dead fish or my ammonia level is going to shoot through the roof. Changes take effect the next day, day 19. I'm going to click on my dead fish, click on my fish waste tray, almost there. My pH is starting to skyrocket. I'm going to add sodium sulfate, hopefully lower it, day 20. Okay, so my fish actually, you know, when I get to day 35, my fish actually are getting a lot bigger. You know, you'll see a difference in the size of that fish. But I'm just going to catch my fish and weigh my fish at day 20, and I can see that my fish now weighs 86 grams instead of 49 grams. So I can see a significant growth in my fish. Okay, so let's go back to our slideshow and look at some of the stats here. Okay, for the education research conducted with the fish farm simulation, we're using it to teach them about ecosystems and water chemistry based on Pavio's theory, you know, of dual encoding. You know, so we found that it worked very well to have that system simulation, that graphic simulation, help give students a much clearer understanding of how that system worked and how the ecosystem worked. If we look at the results and findings, we're seeing that SS is for system simulation, RL is remote link or video link to the greenhouse, HOA is hands-on activities. We're seeing that when we used all three, you know, they obviously did better across the board. When we used the system simulation and hands-on without the remote links, they were still pretty close. When we used the remote links only, of course, we got a major drop. The most significant drop was in problem solving. So when I asked questions about water chemistry of those students who had not used that system simulation or participated in those hands-on activities, they were unable to solve problems for ammonia. They were very shaky on issues regarding pH. So we found that the system simulation was very effective. That's about just a few more points here. Pre-test showed that they didn't understand what a recirculation system was, and fractions and decimals and percents were still pretty shaky. We found that the students got a significant grounding when they were using fractions, decimals, and percents in context. When we started the pretest, only 5% of the students were able to answer the question if a fish weighs 100 ounces, and we're going to feed this fish 6% of their body weight. How much do we feed those fish? Post-test showed that 90% understood the concept of percent after they were using it. I just put the piece in here about virtual manipulatives. I've already mentioned that. ELA projects, last note, the ELA projects were usually inquiry-based learning projects where they would take the activities, the hands-on activities, and then move into the library for research, mostly with electronic databases. You're not going to find a book in the average school library about tilapia. You may find a general one on fish, but it was the electronic databases that were really key there. Peer review at the end. Teachers created lesson plans from the experience and sat through a peer review on those lesson plans with their colleagues to strengthen them. And then, you know, www.oceanofk.org is our website. Our email is on there. You can email us any questions you may have. That's it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning still. My name is Kevin Jarrett. I'm the K-4 Technology Facilitator for Northfield Community School in Northfield, New Jersey. I am here today to tell you about Second Life. Unfortunately, it's not about my school, but it's about a project that I am affiliated with in New York, Suffolk Middle School. And I'm also, in addition to teaching K-4 technology, I am a part-time instructor at Walden University in their grad school of education. And my exposure to Second Life, which started about a year ago, came as a result of a $10,000 grant I received back in March through a faculty excellence program that Walden sponsors. How many people here think they have time for Second Life? Raise your hand if you think you have time for Second Life. I didn't think so either. When I found out about the grant program and I proposed to Walden that they let me take effectively a sabbatical to explore Second Life, they agreed. And I spent 20 to 30 hours a week in Second Life for about 6 months, which is close to the amount of time, a little bit more, to the amount of time I would spend doing my duties as a Walden professor. In that time, I have learned enormous things about how Second Life is being used for education. I've made friends in the real world through Second Life, and who I'm going to be talking about today. Before I go any further, though, I want to point out, okay, there is a handout that should have been distributed outside. It's by EduCause. It's part of their 7 Things series, which is excellent. If you're interested in learning about Second Life and virtual worlds, this is a great place to start, and their entire 7 Things series is excellent, so you definitely want to refer to that. Okay, I only have about 10 minutes, so I'm going to go a little bit fast. Let me see if I can get my mouse working from here. Okay. I'm going to skip through a lot of the stuff that would probably be considered dry and try to get to the fun stuff and get you into Second Life if we have time. But I'm here today to share about a very special project run by a very special teacher and colleague and friend, Peggy Sheehy, who would be with us today, except she's in Washington, D.C. With an 8th grade trip. So we're going to give a big shout out to Peggy because we know she's going to watch the Ustream. Go Peggy, right, exactly. Thanks, Barry. Okay. I have a couple of slides here with some background that I'll just skip right through. How many people here are familiar with Second Life? Raise your hand familiar with Second Life. Okay, excellent. How many people here are familiar with Second Life used in a school environment? School environment. Okay, very few. Well, I have to say, listening to the presentations this morning about all the things that are going on with gaming, I was really disturbed by a lot of what I saw. I had no idea the violent flash games that are out there, and I know there's lots of bad stuff out there, and I certainly know there's bad stuff in Second Life. But what I'm here to tell you today is that the world that Peggy Sheehy and Suffolk Middle School have created does not contain weapons, does not contain violence. It contains learning. And Peggy's 6 islands are a testament to that. Quick background, multi-user virtual environments, essentially 3D spaces where kids or anyone can go in and interact. The difference between places like Civilization or games like Civilization and The Sims is that in Second Life, all the content is user created. Okay, there are no objectives, there are no levels, there are no rules. Everything is from scratch by the users of the world. It's a persistent virtual space that's accessed simultaneously all over the world. It's used for lots of things. E-commerce right now is very big. A lot of companies are embracing it. Although I have to say the ebb and flow of interest in Second Life has changed. About a year ago, the hype cycle was just through the roof. Then over the summer, things kind of died down, and it seems to be picking steam up again, especially in the educational space, which I think is great. It's a great environment for educators to be looking at. It is the de facto standard right now for simulations. There are many other virtual worlds other than Second Life, but right now Second Life is the most popular. The last quote is a quote from Gartner that's gotten a lot of press. They're essentially saying that by the end of 2011, 80% of the people on the web right now will have some form of a virtual life, an avatar of some experience, whether it's Second Life or some other program. 80% of all of you will be in Second Life. Okay. There's been some research into identity in Second Life. It's one of the reasons I think the educational community has embraced Second Life, certainly true in the middle school, which I'm going to be talking about. It's an environment unlike any other that allows you to immerse students in learning. Nikki, who is a researcher, talks about identity and that how the avatar and the people identify with their avatar. Personally, I don't identify with my avatar. I'm actually better looking in real life than in Second Life, which is rare. But I see my avatar as me, but not in the sense that I have like a connection to it. I mean, if he was deleted tomorrow, I wouldn't care. But when I'm in Second Life, I'm me. You know, so I'm completely transparent. If you go into Second Life in my profile, you'll see links to my real life work, my real life school, everything except my social security number and address and stuff like that, because I believe in transparency. There are other people that don't, other people that have physically completely separate identities in virtual worlds. The learning affordances in Second Life and virtual worlds are amazing. And a quote here from that was published in the journal is that benefits in attentional capacity, attention deployment and processing. I mean, the kids just know how to use these environments. And when you combine them with a knowledgeable educator that is willing to develop the curriculum that's going to tie into that, the results are extremely powerful. Okay. All right, who's in Second Life? I hear the ISTE, somebody in the background there. Somebody's at ISTE. I can hear the birds chirping in the background. Anyway, are these, that's how sensitized I am to Second Life. New tools for education, James Paul Gee, one of the noted researchers, talking about identity and how these tools can be used for learning environments, creating essentially experiences to prepare kids for a future that doesn't exist. But the bottom line, and the last quote really hits at home, is that right now we don't have research that conclusively says what the value is. I need to get these guys over to Suffolk. Seriously. We need to have some serious research done with Peggy Sheehy and her group, because you need to see what's going on there, and she'll acknowledge it. She needs data, okay? And it would be wonderful if we could connect you guys. Okay. So this is Suffern Middle School, and this is Peggy Sheehy, the library media specialist, a good friend of mine and colleague. I've been to Suffern twice. I spent my spring break there this year. Their school is in session while mine is off in New Jersey. So I was there for a week, actually stayed at Peggy's house, and worked with her students and some other talented educators there for an entire week. The year before, I spent 2 days with some of her teachers going through Literature Circles project. This is a slide actually I pulled from Peggy. It was kind of a representation, and Peggy's going to watch this, but I don't think she's in the first picture. She'll hit me for that. But here we have an example of how we've always done learning. Look at us right now. Sit and get. One sage on the stage. Nothing's changed. At Suffern, it's changing. Okay, and at Suffern, they're using tools like Second Life to embrace the curriculum in many different ways. This is Suffern Middle School's project called Ramapo Islands today. There are 6 islands. They started with 1. And a vision and a very passionate person by the name of Peggy Sheehy who was going to drive it. Her success was, and she'll tell you, attributed almost solely to her supportive administration. Her superintendent understood enough of what she had to say and had enough faith in her as an educator that when she said the kids would be safe, that they would be safe. When she said there would be learning, there would be learning. And he supported her 110%. And the result is that she's now the world leader in the use of Second Life in middle schools anywhere. Let's take a look. Okay, I have 3 projects that I had planned to talk about today, but in the interest of time, I'm probably not going to be able to. We'll go right through lunch. You guys are mine, right? Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Ramapo's in their 3rd year of operation that involves all academic areas: math, science, social studies, language arts, as well as health, world languages, art, and music. Okay, the 3 case studies I'm prepared to talk about today. The first one is of Mice and Men, John Steinbeck's novel, where the students were charged with recreating the trial scene. The second one is a unit done by a health teacher on body image. Anybody think body image is important in middle school? Show of hands. Okay, they thought so too. And the final one is a special ed teacher who used Second Life, or is using actually Second Life. In fact, I'm in right now. We might even see their students to explore The K, which is a great novel. Okay. This, to me, this next slide epitomizes any classroom anywhere, except Vicki's. Okay? What you're looking at is a role play. You're looking at students that are acting a particular role in front of a school, in front of a classroom, and you can look at some of the reactions of the students' faces, and you tell me, are they engaged? I don't know, and I don't mean to be critical. This could be a very successful project. I found this on Flickr. It's the only picture in all of Flickr I found that actually was exactly what I was looking for, but it really summarizes or it epitomizes how students would perform in a middle school in a situation like this. Now, how many people here are from middle school? Any middle school folks in here? Okay. Think of the ability to strip away all of the peer pressure that's in middle school. Think of the ability to have kids communicate in a native environment directly from screen to keyboard without any of the influences surrounding them at that age. How powerful would that be? That's what's happening every day at Peggy's school. Because this is role-playing at Peggy's school. Okay, this is a recreation of the trial scene from Of Mice and Men. The students' requirements were, and this is Christiane McGrath, the teacher who ran the project. They were to read the novel, assign roles in the scene and responsibilities, then research the roles that were assigned, conduct the trial, and reflect. Okay? The experience that these kids had was amazing. Some of my notes when I talk with Peggy about it is the students were engaged far beyond even her expectations. They ran back to reread the book to prepare for their parts. They started to come to school dressed in suits. Seriously, okay? They started reading and researching the judicial system to understand how a trial would operate, because they were committed to making that trial reenactment as realistic as they possibly could. Peggy likes to joke, the only negative outcome of this project is that quite a few students are now interested in becoming lawyers. That was an unexpected turn of events. Kids were meeting in Second Life over lunch. Kids were building objects to use in the trial. They were building evidence on their own. No one asked them to do these things. All because they were engaged and they wanted to make the simulation real. A vast majority of the work that was done in this, I mean, can you imagine doing this in a 50-minute period and then send them to the next class? No. This was done on their own time because they were interested and because they were engaged. They used court reporters in Second Life, used all of the technology, including what are called note cards, to record transcripts, and post information, and share information back and forth with teachers and others. The implications for this, let me go through just a more slides here, show you what this looks like. This is the outside. I'm actually looking at this spot right now in Teen Second Life on Ramapo, and we'll be there in a minute. Okay, this is the courtroom, and I wasn't sure we would have Second Life working, but in fact we do. And here are a series of shots that reflect the trial in action. Okay, the outcomes as far as the learning. The teacher and Peggy were blown away with the level to which the kids understood the storylines, understood the characters, poured themselves into the research to make the simulation real. The kids, I actually have video, it's posted on TeacherTube, I don't have a link. I interviewed the students and got permission to post it on TeacherTube. And they expressed to me in their own words the power of being able to express themselves without concern for who the person was at the other end of the screen. Okay? There were people that, I mean, we all know cliques exist. We all know what middle school is like. There were people that were allies and friends and working together that never would have worked together on a project in a real classroom. Okay, now, to me, the kick is, after the project, is real life affected? Do they then embrace those people in real life? And I don't have the information to say that conclusively. But that, to me, is a real acid test, because it's one thing to do it and your friends in Second Life, but when it comes to real life, if it's had made a difference there, then I think it's absolutely been a success. Okay? Let's see. Evidence. Okay, I think that's it for Mice and Men. I have a couple minutes or not. We're going to go to questions. Let me just do a couple things on body image. Yeah. Okay, great, and then move on. Anybody familiar with the Campaign for Real Beauty? The Dove campaign? This was a health teacher who said, let's take a group of kids, have them design an avatar, design it the way they look, design it the way they think they should look, and then have them talk about it. How many people think that would be a successful project in just a regular classroom? Just think about it, just people sitting around talking about that. not many. They took their avatars and created what they considered to be a realistic image of themselves and then a media image of beauty, and then talked to each other and said, which is better? In their own words, okay, I wanted to change because it's funner to be what everybody else thinks is beautiful. Okay? Where do you think we get our all ideas of beauty from? The answer, from the media. Girl says, the media should help us feel more confident, but they really do just the opposite. Boys were involved as well. Obviously, the project was the entire class. And there you can see. They had 15 minutes to design an avatar. They then ascended in what are called pods to private areas where they could chat openly with themselves, all recorded and sent to the teacher for evaluation. It's the second year she's done the project. It is incredibly powerful. The students, as soon as they all know about the project coming in, and they're all asking, can we use Second Life to do this project? And so I think I need to stop so we can get to some questions. But it's my point about Second Life, just a couple of closing thoughts here, because I'm not going to be able to get to Decay. Second Life is one of many virtual worlds available for education. It's the dominant platform at the moment. Private estates are safe. They're less expensive now. The prices come down. But the infrastructure to use them is is significant. So many schools will look at this and, gee, this would be great to try. You need to have powerful systems. You need to have the bandwidth, okay? You need to have the money, the budget to support the island. But once you've created the space, it's yours to do what you and your students wish to do. And Peggy is willing to share. She would love to hear from anyone. Shares openly, directly and indirectly, conferences or whatever, in terms of getting started with your students. So with that, I think I need to boogie out. Thanks very much. We can do this while we do questions, actually. So this is my character, and there you can see this is the courthouse. I'm just going to fly over and drop in. This was all created by students. Okay. And
we switch back to this? I'll take you there real quickly. Can you, how do we switch back? I don't know, I think we have to push. I don't know which thing to, okay. Let's go to the Horizon Project this year. There is a handout, I believe. Did they get my handout? You have a handout with all of these links. The Horizon Project studies the trends in the Horizon 2008 report. If we go to the teams on the left-hand side, you'll see that what they are studying is, we have all the color codes of all the different classrooms. For example, one team is studying grassroots video and how that is changing society. We have a project manager. They organize and manage their own teams. An assistant project manager. You can see the project manager for this team is in Qatar. Hillary is in my classroom. And then you have 4 sub-wikis. This group is studying the impact of grassroots video on education, looking at things like TeacherTube and such. This group is studying the impact on government politics and employment, looking at the YouTube elections, the debate and all that, and then arts, entertainment, leisure, and science and health. So these wikis are in the process of being built. We're right in the midst of this project. But you can see that they've already started explaining the background about what is grassroots video, and then they have to embed their videos when they're done here. So it takes a good 4 to 5 months to pre-plan. We're already starting to plan Flat Classroom in the fall, and anyone can apply. What we look for is teachers who are committed, because the world is not flattened by technology, it's flattened by proficiency and effort. And if a teacher thinks that they can just get their lesson plans from Julie and I and just do a great, we've really had struggles because there are some teachers who don't want to have to check their email, and they don't want to have to go in, and have a virtual meeting and actually do things. And so it's not about babysitting or anything, it's about being actively engaged. So that's just an example, and feel free to stop by and email me any questions. The Horizon, this is an exciting project because the New Media Consortium and EDUCAUSE actually write the Horizon report. So they're actually involved in this project. So this is written to predict the future of college education in the next 1 to 5 years. And it's written via wiki. Julie and I are both on the Horizon Advisory Committee this year, the only K-12 educators involved in that. And so we wrote it via wiki with Alan Levine and a big group like that. And so it's exciting because you have all of the PhDs and amazing educators who said these are the future, this is the future, and then now the students are predicting the future based on what. So you've got all levels of people involved. We also have experts. They interact with experts, and we have peer review classrooms, so we still have room for people to sign up for that. But we have a YouTube star that's the mentor for the grassroots video group, which is really, really neat. The Google Docs project managers are actually mentoring the Collaborative Webs group. And then Don Tapscott, who wrote Wikinomics, delivered our keynote. So it's really a great way to have people all over the world involved in a learning experience, and we'd like to see it. I believe that every student in America before they graduate from high school should participate in a global collaborative project. I really do. Thank you. CoolCatTeacher@gmail.com is the one I use for all of this. CoolCatTeacher, you can Google me and find me.
How do you deal with firewalls? I'm guessing that you have firewalls.
I'm also the IT director, and I unblock what I need. But the people that are involved, we actually had a big struggle because we were posting the videos to YouTube. And if you go on the website, you'll see that we have the video specifications here, and we actually really kind of hacked things. We have our students uploading their video to Ning, and then they use a little Firefox plugin to snag that video and convert it into a format that they can use. And it's a 7-series video tutorial that you can follow and learn how we did it. But that's how we got around the YouTube thing. And then we're going to snag the video for the students that win that give us permission and post it to YouTube as well. But that has been a hurdle. And the hardest schools, and I can say this because I've collaborated with a lot of schools, the hardest schools to collaborate with are American public schools. I've never seen anything like it. I had Flat Classroom in the fall, had a teacher in LA that was part of our project, and it took us 3 weeks to figure out that her Barracuda firewall was eating my email. I couldn't even email her. We had to set up an alternative method for me to email her, and her IT department was so unsupportive that they would not add me to their firewall. We literally had to communicate in other ways. And I've communicated with the Middle East. The Middle East is more open about collaborating globally than we are. I mean, China, we've collaborated with China and Japan, all over the world. And I don't understand why we're having such issues, except that people just need to get off their rear ends and do the right thing and deal with it.
But we're going to have lunch now, and you can question them during lunch or later on. I just want to do a few housekeeping things before we move on. Lunch will be from 12:05 to 12:45. We'd like to get back here. We have our keynote at 12:45. We're just talking about how to keep your kids cyber savvy and what they need to know. And I think that that's one of the important messages that we're getting through the day, is that we need to educate our kids to move forward in this system. In your packets, please note that there is an evaluation form. Please take the moment to fill it out at any time. I really do take all of these information and feedback back with me in trying to create the conference for the next year, and also trying to find people I can contact to ask them about how to do the next conference when we go forward. The topic is going to be high schools, so I'll be calling some of you. And once again, the restrooms are on either side here. Lunch is set up right on either side, and you can all eat in the cafeteria. So we'll see you back here at 12:45. Thank you. And thank you very much to our speakers.